No matter what game you play, new updates always bring some interesting meta shifts. Sometimes they're really good, things that you've been asking about for months, and they finally start implementing them. Sometimes they're so bad you're wondering how they got approved in the front office. So today I want to look at the Fortnite Ballistic Test Grounds update number 2 to see if these meta changes are going to be for the good or the bad. Let's jump into it. So I have the patch notes up here, and we're going to run through these one by one, and I'm going to share my thoughts and kind of assign them to the columns of whether they're good or bad. First is introducing Cinderwatch. So they've announced that they've released a new shell map, and to be honest, I don't know how you could consider this bad. There is the idea from the competitive side that they should maybe focus on a way to allow for custom games where you can actually pick a map so you can have better competitive integrity, better competitive gameplay where you can actually, have a best of 3 on 3 different maps and have map selections. That being said, competitive is not the only side of this game. So you want to consider the casual player base as well. People want new things. They want to not be bored. And, I think this came pretty early after 2 newly released maps, just, a month or so after they released Hammerfall and Stormchaser Cove. I can honestly say that I think this is a great thing. I love the look of this map. Another shell map, but we'll see if they just keep all these shell maps or if they ever actually texture them. But it looks like an interesting concept. I've yet to play on it, but looks nice. I actually had to come back and re-record this section because I went for so long talking about why this is a bad change. And I really feel like I needed to kind of consolidate it a little bit. So, getting into the big change, the gadgets are now free. I don't think there's a world in which this is a good change. I think the Fortnite team probably believes that this is going to be great for the casual player to help increase the player base because now they don't have to worry about buying gadgets. It makes their economy easier to manage. Less things to buy, all sort of stuff like that. But there's just no world in which that's actually true. Look at any game that's been around for quite some time that has an actual active player base that is, massive and continues to stay massive, like League of Legends or Counter-Strike. The game is fun because it's difficult. The game does not cater to the casual player. It caters to its mechanics, and the casual player needs to either strive to get better or they get left behind. And I think there's this misconception in the gaming community nowadays that you need to cater to the casual to help keep your player base massive, and that's just not going to work for tac shooters that are focused on having a skill gap between the casual player and who can't manage their economy correctly and improve their macro gameplay. It just eliminates that skill gap. Those little things that make players better than others. In reality, they're just rewarding those dumb players in competitive that try to treat it like a slugfest. On one hand, people are going to say, oh, well, they're getting gadgets for free now, so they have the ability to be more tactical. Except that's never how those players thought. Those players would sacrifice buying recons so that they could get an AR. Things like that, where they're not thinking about the team play, the set plays that they can do. So now they're able to buy that AR with no repercussions whatsoever. When before, a good player was sitting there thinking about, oh, well, I need to maybe half buy armor and then buy a SMG so I can afford my 2 gadgets. Well, now you don't have to do that. It also makes eco rounds more scary, which again, you could argue is just catering to the casual. Eco rounds are a punishment for you losing a round. You lost the round, you got out-fragged, your strategy was poor, so you have to suffer with, shoddy weapons, a shoddy buy, and try to make something of it. Well, now eco rounds are, hey, here's all of the things you need to have a strategy to lay out and potentially win the round. And it also punishes the team that won the round to break the economy. Because, yes, they get their gadgets, but at the same time, they won the round. They had the money to play with to get their gadgets. And now, yes, it's a little bit of an economy change, but it's still just going to be more competitive eco rounds, which aren't a good thing. Eco rounds aren't supposed to be competitive. Eco rounds are supposed to be won through a masterclass of teamwork, or the enemy completely misplaying. You shouldn't have the opportunity to have a pretty high likelihood to win an eco round, right? It's something that you build, that you create for yourself. But now they're just kind of allowing anyone to have a good chance of winning the eco round, and that's just not good for competitive integrity. So obviously I've already put it there, but this definitely goes in the bad column. Also, apologies if the following sections I kind of rehash some of this stuff, but I wanted a more cohesive thought process for this section, given that it is the bulk of what this patch is all about. Next, there's some economy changes. Credits gained from winning and losing a round were reduced. It costs 100 more credits for smokes and flashes, and for some stupid reason, they increased the burst AR from 2,000 to 2,300. So the burst AR is already not really used. The Hyper SMG is better in almost every scenario. There's times you make the case for the burst AR because it was just 200 credits more, and maybe if you're on Hammerfall long range engagements, you could take it, or maybe if you're not trying to get close, you're trying to push slow, you might be able to. But now that it's 500 more than the Hyper, there's just no world in which someone would ever buy the burst AR in a competitive sense. And even from a casual perspective, this doesn't make much sense. In any casual ranked game I ever played, I rarely ever saw the burst. And if I did, it was never used to effect. So they're essentially just making the burst AR irrelevant, which is a stupid change. As for the other things, it's so weird to give people gadgets and then just reduce the money. So you're essentially trying to add eco rounds back in, but now the eco rounds are just going to include gadgets. It's really dumb. It makes eco rounds more of a coin flip. Not really necessarily a coin flip, but it makes them not such a stretch to win when you have full utility. It's just kind of stupid. We're going to go ahead and put this in the bad column as well. Next up, the DL44 Blaster pistol. This is a terrible idea. I'm not even going to possibly say there's a good to this. It's going immediately in the bad column. Whoever thought this was a good idea is losing their mind. There is no world in which we want these temporary pistols that match up with these freaking partnerships they do. That is just terrible for the state of the consistency of Ballistic. This is a tac shooter. This isn't a run around and have fun with your friends in a battle royale that doesn't have any meaning. It's ridiculous that this is put in the game. Absolutely ridiculous. Next up is the new pistol slot. I think we go ahead and just immediately put that in good. For the longest time, it was kind of crazy that a person could buy a deagle, miss all their deagle shots, and then just swap to the ranger right away. If you're going to buy a deagle, you need to deal with the consequences of having a deagle in pistol round. If you miss your shots, you got to reload. That's just simple as that. Also, it adds the fun variability with, being able to get a Reaper sniper and then have a deagle as your secondary. It's just fun being able to swap up your loadout just a little bit if you feel more confident with your shot or things like that. So I think that is, I think that's a great change. Next up, vote to surrender. Now, there's a little bit of discussion on this. I would say, for the most part, this is a fantastic change. There's plenty of times when a team's losing a ranked and players leave, and then these players are stuck having to play 2v5s because they don't want to get a ranked ban or anything like that. And so this allows them the option to surrender and get the game over with faster. It's great for the players that are doing the steamrolling in ranked. It's great for the players that are getting steamrolled. The one negative benefit is there's a lot of whiners in ranked, and so you lose 3 rounds in, not even necessarily getting steamrolled fashion, and they just immediately want to quit. And that's just not how it should be. I'm pretty sure you only need 3 people to say yes too. So it's, I don't know. I think there could be some people giving up too early in games that were definitely winnable, but overall, I think this definitely goes in the good column. Map changes to Storm Chaser Cove. There is some fantastic changes that I've seen. I've watched some gameplay today. There was actually a tournament, as well as some ranked players that played this map that I got to see on stream, and I gotta say, they seem like fantastic changes. Storm Chaser Cove, you were able to flank so fast. They're just kind of basic and open, and these new walls that they added, the way they've changed middle and added some boxes, the way they changed B site, I think they're all really good changes that kind of help make it a more full and it just feels more complete than it did before. Before it just kind of felt empty. I think these changes are great. They lower the rotate time, or sorry, they increase the rotate time, lower the chance there is to just someone have a fast flank. There's more stuff to hide behind, more cover to hold sites. I think it's just overall just a fantastic change. So let's go ahead and put that in the good column. Last up is improvements and fixes. So the first one in Storm Chaser Cove is probably the biggest one, and I'm going to go on a little bit of rant for this one, but fix 2 exploits where players could leave the starting area before barriers went down. So people were hopping over the barriers before the round started, and they were able to get into attacker spawn immediately as the barriers went down, and that was just so dumb. And as a message to those players who think that exploits like that are fun to do with their friends, I want to remind you that the casual player base is what makes this game survive. The people who play the game with their friends, who just want to have a good time and play some ranked, are going to get disheartened when they're getting mind glitched and killed in their spawn, or dying to ARs in pistol round because someone did a glitch to bring them over, or jumping over a barrier and killing them immediately upon the barrier being down. You're ruining the fun for everyone else. You may think it's fun, but those players are just going to quit. And those same players that are doing the glitches are the same people whining about the game losing players. Just stop being a dick, and you won't have to worry about that. It's pretty simple. And for the players that say, oh, I'm just doing it to bring attention to it, don't be an idiot. They all know what's happening. Just because they don't make the change right away because Fortnite doesn't implement hotfixes very often, doesn't mean that they don't know what's happening. So just stop being a dick. So now that rant's over, that is a great change. Leaning towards the good column, but let's get into some other stuff. Fix several issues related to minimap not matching in space. That's great. I never dealt with any of these other problems. Let's jump into the other changes. Overdrive's duration being reduced from 12 to 10 seconds and its fire rate increase being halved. I think that's probably good. I always thought that overdrive was a little broken, but not so busted that it was like game changing. So just a 2-second reduction in time and the fire rate increase being halved. I've yet to see it in person, but that kind of sounds like what I think would be a good fix for it. It will make it less busted to have someone just run at you with, you know, a pistol or something along those lines, but it will still be good. So I think that's probably a pretty good change. Fixed issue where players sometimes unable to defuse the Rift Point device when under the effect of overdrive. Now, I know plenty of players who couldn't defuse the Rift Point device without being under the effect of overdrive. There's a lot of glitches with that. Hopefully they fix those with that. They don't mention them here, but I mean, that's obviously a good thing when you fix bugs like that. So overall, I would say the improvements and fixes are in the good column, except there's one thing. If you'll notice, I didn't go over Hammerfall. There's one major glitch in Hammerfall that sucks right now. And this one, they say, fix an issue where players were able to impulse grenade themselves in an unintended spot. That's great. Didn't know about that. The glitch that is so annoying is those frickin' doors and the sound the doors make like they're closing when they're not being closed. That is so annoying, especially when you're trying to hold a site and you don't want to close one of the doors, but it's making all the noise. You have to close it and open it again. It is so annoying. Please Please, Fortnite Ballistic team. Please, Epic. Fix this. It's a horrible problem. So that's my thoughts on the good and bad parts of the Ballistic Test Grounds update number 2. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.